Good evening. It's 6 o'clock, and I'm calling to order the Placerville Planning Commission regular meeting for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Would you please all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. Watkins Howie, would you please call the roll?
Chair Lepper? I'm sorry. Vice Chair Lepper?
Here.
Commissioner Stratton?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Chair Keeney?
Here.
And Commissioner Sylvester is absent.
We have no closed session report. We'll move on to the consent calendar, which is, right, all matters are considered routine and will be enacted by general consent. The item on our consent calendar tonight is the approval of the minutes of the regular Planning Commission meeting for October 7th. I had a couple of changes. I don't know about the rest of you, so I'd like to pull those for discussion. So moving on to number 5, my changes for the minutes are on page 2 under 10.1. Add, and I'm not quite sure of the language, I apologize, but it says in the second paragraph in italics about the motion. The motion was made by Commissioner Smith and seconded by Commissioner Sylvester, but it doesn't say what that motion was. So it was something, my notes from the meeting said continue off calendar. We usually say to a date certain. Ms. Kendrick, did you, were you able to confirm which one that was actually? Did we say date certain or just continue off?
It was continued off calendar, and you weren't the first person to notice that, so we did make that correction on 10.1.
Okay, so it is to continue off calendar. Okay, and the other change was, so the changes have been made and they've been posted?
The changes have been made for the 10.1 and the 10.2.2.
12.2.2.
Right. So the rest, like I said, we're trying to follow the same format as the city council with their minutes. It's very brief. Again, these meetings are videotaped and available to the public, so we're just trying to follow their format.
Okay, and so the other change was to 12.2.2 to add Mr. Doug Roca's name to that list.
Correct.
Okay. Did anybody else have any other?
Those were the two changes that I submitted to Carol and Dina via email before the meeting yesterday, I believe. So the exact two things.
Okay. So the minutes have been amended. So can I have, let's see, a motion to approve?
Motion to adopt the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Amy.
Second.
And a second from Alyssa. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, 4-0, approval for the updated minutes. Next is items of interest to the public and public comment on non-agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the commission on any matter not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. State law prohibits the commission from acting on items not listed on the agenda except by special action of the Planning Commission under specified circumstances. Would any member of the audience like to address the Planning Commission at this time on a non-agenda item? Good evening. If you would please state your name for the record.
Good evening. I had a thought from a comment at the last commission meeting, somebody mentioning, anyway, I'm not sure if the Planning Commission has any control or say over Goldbug Park.
Control over the,
Goldbug Park?
no, not unless there would be a
I
project.
think so. I mean, would you be reviewing it for any historical resource appropriate uses? Because my point is, with gold at $4,000 an ounce, the city being broke all the time, we have multiple gold mines, we have rich countryside. It's just something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll move on to number 7, written communications on non-agenda items. We don't have any of those. We did receive some written communications, that we'll address those when we get to that point in our agenda. We don't have a presentation or educational workshop, so we'll move on to environmental assessments, public hearing. Environmental assessments, public hearings, of which we have one. Yeah, we have none. We have a continued item, my mistake. So our continued item is the ARCO Master Sign Plan, MSP 25-02, rebranding of the Shell to ARCO. This is consideration of the resubmission of a Master Sign Plan amendment for the sign branding from Shell to ARCO, including a new monument sign on a .48 acre parcel zoned central business district located at 151 Main Street, Placerville. So this is an updated to an existing sign plan, and we don't have a representative here tonight, but I'll just turn it over to you, Director Kendrick, for the staff report.
Thank you, Chair and Planning Commission. Carol Kendrick presenting the staff report for the continued Master Sign Plan Amendment, MSP 25-02, for the property at 151 Main Street. This proposal involves rebranding the existing Shell station to ARCO, including the new monument sign. The site was originally approved under Conditional Use Permit 65-001 in 1965 and originally featured a pole sign and maintenance bays. In 2009, Site Plan Review 0805 converted the bays and offices into an expanded convenience store, adding landscaping enclosures and a relocated monument sign with exterior upgrades. The application was previously reviewed by the Planning Commission on August 16th, where suggestions were provided, and the item was continued to allow for revisions to the master sign plan. The master sign plan proposes the following signage: 2 double-sided monument signs, one with the ARCO logo and fuel prices, and the other with the Propel logo and prices. They're adjacent to each other with a small separation. Those are located near the Main Street entrance, and they total 67.15 square feet. They are proposing 2 canopy signs that will display the ARCO Spark logo and channel letters, each 17.06 square feet. A wall sign on the convenience store facade will be 11.88 square feet, and the existing pole sign, originally from 1965, will be rebranded with ARCO logos and fuel prices totaling 86.36 square feet. The fueling islands will also adopt the ARCO design. Materials include aluminum, plastic, and 3M vinyl with LED internal illumination. The total square footage of the sign area is 199.51. The project does comply with the sign ordinance's size, placement, materials, and illumination standards, using shielded warm LED lights for energy efficiency. The design aligns with the ARCO branding, moderated for aesthetic compatibility with the historic downtown setting, and includes provisions for future sign modifications subject to review. The property is located within 300 feet of the historic Main Street district, but no historic resources will be altered, qualifying the project for a categorical exemption under Section 15311. Staff recommends approving Master Sign Plan 25-02 as presented, finding it consistent with the general plan and sign ordinance. Conditions include conforming to the Master Sign Plan specifications, subjecting future tenant signs to a further review, and ensuring shielding of external lighting and obtaining a sign permit prior to installation. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Oh, actually, I would like to add one more housekeeping item. I was notified by a member of the public yesterday that the site plan does include an area that's not within their property line, so I've reached out to the applicant. So when you see the 9 parking spaces along the back side of that is actually in the vacated Canal Street that the city owns. So I did reach out to the applicant and asked if they can revise that. I didn't hear it back, but I did want to note that for the record.
Okay, thank you. So on the aerial photograph I'm looking at, Old Canal Street, there's a black line, parcel boundaries. Okay. It says that these are illustrative only and not considered legal boundary. Okay, that's fine, but we'll get an updated, the city will get an updated map with the accurate property line? Okay,
That's correct.
all right. And I had one question. Do we know the lineal feet of frontage for this property? I know it wraps the corner. And the reason I ask that is because they're right in under the 200 square foot limit, but, and the other thing about what they're proposing, it's essentially the same square footage as what's existing. They're just rebranding, correct? They're not increasing the amount of square footage of signage from existing.
That's correct.
Okay, that's really more important than the actual lineal feet of the frontage. Does anyone else have a question for staff about the report?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Director, I'm not clear about what you described as the boundaries. I look at the lines and didn't see an indication of.
There we go.
So on Old Canal Street, those series of cars are not part of this gas station. They're actually city property, as I recall. But what do the markers mean, the yellow markers versus the blue markers? The blue markers I understood to be the property lines for this business. So what would the yellow lines be? That's the aerial photograph I'm referring to.
So the blue line is the subject parcel, and then the yellow lines are the streets. Oh, the light yellow lines are other parcels. So in this aerial photograph, I only have this specific parcel selected, so that is highlighted in blue.
Yeah, that looks like, yeah, there's a registration error, I guess, with the photograph because the blue line goes through the back of the building. So it just needs to be, you know, when we do these mapping exercises, that needs to be adjusted. I'm sure that the surveyor, you know, when they built that building originally, it was within the property lines. But I see now the blue line goes through the main building, and I don't know why it juts into on the park or the asphalt, I guess, by the pump. So yeah, not exactly accurate. But we will get an accurate map, or the city will get an accurate map.
We'll get a revised site plan to insert into the master sign plan. And I can speak to the accuracy of the aerial photographs. There's always a little bit of error in there, and I've seen that throughout my whole entire career. And we're using .NET, so we're using the county's system. And so knowing that these aren't exact lines,
That's why the disclaimer's in the footer.
Yes.
This is you know, to illustrate, not a surveyor's map at all.
correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I just had one quick question. On page 4 of the staff report, it was mentioned that there's a limit on the freestanding sign, limit to 1 primary freestanding sign per parcel. Does this still qualify under that requirement since it's like on 1 monument stand, but there's technically now 2 separate signs?
What we had in the past What we had in the past there, what's existing now, is the Propel sign is basically a separate sign that was added on at a later time. And so it really is 2 signs when you look at it, especially on this site plan, because they do show a very small separation. There are requirements with the Department of Weights and Measures that we have to allow for fueling signs. So I think it's more, again, just refacing the existing signs to meet their needs, so.
Thank you.
And it will fit within the existing, what's that, raised stone wall, right? So it's not going to expand out beyond what we have. They're just changing the proportions between what's the Arco versus what's Propel,
That's from what they previously,
from what they previously had.
correct.
Okay. Okay. Any other? Okay. No other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Kendrick. Open up for public comment.
Good evening. I want to thank staff for their inclusion in the report of the historic resources within 300 feet. That was beautiful to see, so thank you very much. Being that the Planning Commission is the historic review body. My comment is just to keep the square footage of signs allowed within those limits. And the question is, did staff determine if the pole sign is actually on this parcel or on city property, like the brew house next door?
Thank you. Ms. Kendrick, do you have any information on the location of that pole sign? It's existing, it's already been approved, and so, we will carry it along with the updated branding. But we don't have that accurate property line on this map.
Right, it appears to be within the boundaries of the subject property.
Okay. Thank you. So we'll close the public comment portion of the public hearing and bring it back to commission for possible action. They have, I'm happy with their updated proposal. They've provided us the color scheme. They've reduced, no, they're keeping within the same boundary or the same amount of just under 200 square feet total. And they also addressed our concern regarding the two signs, Arco versus Propel. So I'm inclined to support it. How about the rest of you? Other comments?
I felt the same. I appreciated the updated information regarding the colors, and I think it's a clean and unoffensive look that they've come up with. I actually like the new Arco Propel sign look better. I think it's a little easier to read. I think it simplifies it visually. It's a little less cluttered, so I think it's actually a little bit of an improvement. I see there's a little bit of a height increase, but my concern was more about width, and so they've addressed that, and the height does not seem offensive to me. I think it actually increases visual ability with that little gap between the Propel and the Arco for the Canal Street or Spring Street, and gives an overall clean look. So I was happy with the colors, happy with the streamlining of the signage, and think it looks great. I had no problem.
Good. Yes, Kirk.
Well, I would add ditto. It's a big improvement over what we had before, because what we had before were black and white prints. This is color, makes all the difference in the world. And you can see the before and after the shell and the Arco. And there is, as our colleague said, visual improvement. It's much cleaner, much more precise. For our purposes, it's just consistent with what was done before. So I'm pleased.
Okay. Any comments?
I agree with what everyone has been saying so far, and I also did a little research after what you had brought up last time regarding the aesthetics within a certain number of feet of historic monuments. I wasn't able to find any specific regulations, but there was a lot of guidance around the visual appeal, and in this instance, I don't feel that this worsens what's already existing, so just wanted to let you guys know about that.
Okay. All right. Can we get a motion regarding this for approval?
I'll move to approve MSP 2502 based on the findings and conditions in the staff report.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Stratton and a second from Ms. Lepper. I wanted to, the staff reports have gone back and forth as far as incorporating the staff report as part of the record. I mean, the staff report is a public document, but for a long time, the Planning Commission always had a statement that we incorporated the staff report as part of the record, and I see that that is not included here in our recommended Planning Commission action. So, Ms. Kintergard, I just wanted to ask your opinion about that. I'm sure you had a reason for not including it. The findings are clear, and as I said, when we stopped stating specifically that the staff report was included, the argument was that, yes, it's a public document. We have no concerns with the staff report, therefore it was redundant. And I just want to take a moment to make sure that you're in agreement with that, that we don't have to specifically state that we adopt the staff report.
That's correct.
Okay.
The agenda is public record, the staff report is public record already, so the cat's out of the bag.
Okay, and so from your thinking, and I see this too, as long as we have no problems during the public hearing with the staff report, then there's no conflict, and so we're on solid ground as far as moving forward with our approval.
Correct, and if there were issues with the staff report that the commission felt needed to be addressed, we could continue the item or make changes and repost a post staff report with red lines, but no, I'm comfortable with that. And
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. Just wanted to make sure that I understood, since we had kind of changed our approach, a year ago or so. I can't remember when we started, when we dropped that specific line. I remember.
Probably about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my only comment. Anyone else? Further discussion on the motion? All right. Ms. Watkins, Howie, please call the vote.
Commissioner Lepper,
Aye.
Commissioner Stratton,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Chair Keeney.
Aye. Says 4-0. All approvals are subject to a 10-day appeal to the City Council. So we'll conclude that matter and move on to new business, which we have none. Number 12 is matters from commissioners and staff. We'll start with staff reports. 12.1, item is for staff to update those in attendance of the status of upcoming meetings, recent actions taken by the City Council, and announcements of other events and so on. So I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Kinder.
I only have one item to report from the last City Council meeting, as we did bring our August Development Service Department stats to the City Council for their information. Otherwise, I have nothing to report. I don't know if City Manager Warren has anything to add on events or, okay, nope, that's it.
Do you know if we have a meeting, the first meeting in November? Just out of curiosity.
That was something that I wanted to discuss with you. My understanding is that typically the Planning Commission doesn't meet on Election Day.
That's right. Yeah, that's
So,
right. Okay.
Before we adjourn, I would recommend that we cancel that meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll move on to Planning Commission matters. This is our opportunity to update other members of subcommittee work, topics and issues learned at land use planning conferences, workshops, webinars, and so on. 12.2.1, Historic District Guidelines. We have several attachments are included in our packet. And so, first is Placerville City Historic Guidelines Work Plan, and that's your work, Ms. Stratton, right? So would you like to walk us through that, or
Sure.
provide a summary? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that this will be something that we need to go through the full thing every time. But just as an update from last time, wanted to let you guys know anything that's been changed or added, I have underlined within there. And then everything that we're no longer discussing has been moved to the back page with the orange headers, just to decrease the clutter on the work that we're actively pursuing. I did want to verify, there was a few efforts that I heard about, and then I didn't see anything else come up, so I wanted to see if anything moved forward with those. One would be the utility bill mailing and the sharing tax credit info with homeowners. Has anything happened with that?
No, I think the utility bill mailing was discussed. I have a draft of a letter that I was going to send to Carol that was the beginning of the discussion around just re-notifying homeowners in the districts that they live in a historic district and what that means. But I don't know, it would be, I'm not sure if the utility billing is specified to be able to only target those homeowners. So I think that just needs to be fleshed out a little bit more to figure out the best way. But that was a method of communication that was discussed in general as a way to easily notify the public and / residents that these exist and what that means.
Gotcha, okay.
And for sharing tax credit info with homeowners, I don't know that we can move forward with that. It's very limited. It's only available, your note says only available to homes on the Federal Registry. It's also then, they have to be income generating for them to get a tax credit. So, for instance, we have the Cumbellic Blair House. Used to be a bed and breakfast, so it was income generating. Right. Therefore, they were eligible for that tax credit. So the Soda Works building, probably, that is,
Right.
they have an ongoing business. I hope that their accountant would be, aware of that and advising them. But it is very limited, but it is not only on the Federal Registry, but also income generating. So
Okay.
limited.
I would just add that what Commissioner Carter and I did 2 years ago is we talked to the county registrar's office about having the county send out the notices. That way, the city doesn't have to pay any money, and it would go by land records. So they use the parcel maps and things of that kind. So it really wouldn't matter whether somebody generated any income or not, so that would be one method to do it.
I have one other update from the work plan, if that's the appropriate time to.
Sure.
Okay. I touched base, excuse me, with Carol about the GIS map and implementing that on the website. That was the one that shows interactive parcel sites for all 4 districts, because as we've talked about before, only 2 are really searchable right now on our website. And so implementing that. And then I didn't have time to send this because I did it late this afternoon, but I told you that the city of Whittier was a good example to me that I thought was really achievable and basic, but informative on terms of historic access for residents. So I went ahead and typed up, or just, copied and pasted their tab headings, if you will, to have maybe a way that we could start tackling our individual documents. You can have, what's the word I'm looking for? Putting them under these headlines so that, because we talked about that they're all over the website in different places right now. And so I'll give you a quick read down of what they are, what they list on theirs, and what I think actually would be fairly easy for us to accomplish and be easily searchable for residents. It has their general plan, their development code and zoning map update, their housing element, specific plans, historic preservation, a brief history of the city, historic locations, historic landmarks, historic districts, general plan historic resources, citywide historic resource ordinance, historic district ordinances, the application, an explanation of the application fees, preservation funding sources, website links and reference material, historic preservation news, residential walls and fences, and then I forgot to take one out, that's the beautification plan for their own town, and then an FAQs. So I thought that those were just really general topics that we could put our existing documents under without, and then potentially tackle each one to streamline them, modernize, make sure that they're robust, and kind of take that GIS website, webpage, and make it our sort of repository for all of these with these basic headings and access. What I liked about this too is each tab wasn't like a million things. So even just having the application on one tab and having the application fees, that's all that it explained. So it wasn't overwhelming with information on each one. And I don't think would be overwhelming to implement on the staff level either. Like it's not a lot of, I'm not a web person, so I don't know the words, but it's not a lot of
Programming.
Program coding, I don't know, whatever the word is. I think it's achievable and it's very basic, so clicking on each one isn't so overwhelming, I think, for the homeowner or people wanting to investigate. And then, of course, we could tailor them, I should say, to what we want to highlight for the city of Placerville. So I'll give this to Carol and follow up on just how we could maybe tackle these going forward in small bite chunks. That
So at least we'll have your list of those tabs for our next meeting. And then if you can add or add detail, then we can discuss
yeah,
further.
if I could, my plan too is to find what we have that would fit under each of these that are now in different places on the website. Like our inventories are one place, some history, excuse me, some history, the landmarks, they're all kind of in different locations, but make this just really a cohesive, basic, and palatable page for people that we can point to. So, for example, the gentleman with the fences doesn't have to dig around and everything. It's just there, and that's where everything should be so that it's very clear going forward. If there's changes, like if we adopt the sustainability standards, they can just be there. We don't have to figure out where they go or build a new page or create more sort of visual clutter, I guess, for lack of a better word. So that's my update on the website stuff right now.
So would it be appropriate at this point to maybe reach out to like the city's IT staff or whoever would be responsible for updating the website and get realistic timelines or game plans?
So I can update the website.
Okay.
So I agree with Commissioner Lepper, trying to do research on historic information for the bridge, the 1906 bridge was challenged because all of our documents are in different locations. So I'm kind of excited about this, and I think it'll be a benefit to our residents.
Awesome.
And to add to that is there's a lot of really interesting stuff on our website. It's just hard to find. So when I was doing my research and I was digging around, I was like, that's really interesting, a whole written up thing about different locations in town that I think would be super valuable to have in one place and actually have people able to find and read about it, because I thought it was really interesting, but it was me, nerding out on the website.
I agree. Some time back, started digging into our own website, and I was amazed at how much work staff had already gone to upload and put all that. But, finding it, I think somehow allowing people to focus in, regardless of where they're coming from. If they just want general information or if they're a homeowner with specific questions, you just kind of go into this one area, and then the tabs would be there to you can quickly click on what you need. I had one other update for you on Objective 4, 4D1, develop standard findings. I'd like to, we had a draft that we were slated to vote to adopt, and it says October 2025. I've read something recently. I want to take another crack at that submittal to you. So my plan is to do that. Maybe if we could just put that off to, say, December. We'll push it out if, depending on what's on the agenda. And Ms. Kendrick, when I have another draft, I'll submit that to you to include in a packet as we have time to consider it. It's not long. We've talked about it. We were generally in agreement, but I just want to take another look at it. So I just wanted to update that. All right. Any other updates for the work plan? Kurt?
Yeah, just to note that our colleague earlier asked about a provision requiring us to have the authority to look at matters that are within 300 feet of historic resources, and the answer to that is it's in the resolution that we were given 10 years ago. I could just show it to you, but it states that the committee shall advise and make recommendations to the Planning Commission with respect to discretionary permits within 300 feet of historic resources, and shall advise on the appropriate means to implement and maintain the integrity of historic resources. But that's where one source of that authority is.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll pull that. Just for my own clarity, I apologize. I'm all over the place right now. Do we also discuss the including just 1D1 and 1D2? I think they might have gotten a little wrapped up in our discussion of 1B3.
Include disclosure in listings. These weren't implemented. So you asked the question, were these implemented? No.
Is it something that we want to keep open, or was it kind of closed?
You know, that's
Low
interesting
priority?
because Ryan Carter.
That's what I was going to say. I think Ryan was the one who,
and
yeah.
he and his wife are realtors, and so that was something that they were taking on. It's, you know, kind of out of our jurisdiction, but, you know, they were making some progress, and, you know, and I can't remember what her position was as far as contacting other realtors. She was, anyway, but that's kind of fallen off our work plan.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
since we don't have a realtor on the commission right now to spearhead that. Okay, there was, so this is 12.2. There's another page. Was this, Alyssa, is this your work? It didn't? No.
I think this is from Catherine. It
this
had
is part of
Sylvester.
Catherine's.
It has Sylvester on the first page.
Oh, on the, okay, so they weren't stapled together. Okay, so.
I'm guessing this is what, that
She
my
had a-
assumption was that this was Catherine kind of doing what I had done to go and look at other examples and see what they have.
Right, so there is one that has her name. This other page I was talking about, I thought maybe, Alyssa, it was your work, because it doesn't have Catherine's name in the footer. But we were provided City of Placerville docs reviewed for historic structure content.
Oh, yeah, that one on the second page has Sylvester too. So I think this is similar to what I had started earlier this year of documenting what information currently lives on our website that is relevant to these discussions. And so that would be the second page, the first
Okay.
page being
The one that
other.
has Catherine's name on the footer. Okay.
When I say second page, I mean the one that doesn't have Catherine's name on the
Okay.
front, but has it on the back. I just saw that right now, actually. So it looks like it's the same idea, same thought process, I should say, of going through and creating what documents exist that could be incorporated into this potential new home.
Right.
And
So
then
my thought on this
secondary-
actually was, since this is her work, I thought, let's just take this home, and if you could go on the webpage, there are hyperlinks that we can go and research, but since Catherine is not here to walk us through it, I was thinking we should just postpone that till she can be here to, you know, explain her thinking and maybe elaborate a little bit on what she thought was important. But it looks like, yeah, she's off to a really good start compiling all of these places that already have good historic preservation guidelines in place. So, and then there's the Placerville, so that's other jurisdictions reviewed, and so then the Placerville existing historic review documents was also hers. Okay, so that concludes 12.2.1, the documents we've received. Any other comments from commissioners about what we've received? Okay, I'll open up for public comments on these that were part of our packet tonight.
Good evening. I have a question. Are the documents and the communications you're discussing, passing amongst yourselves, are those available to the public right now?
What's your question?
Any emails, communications, letters going back and forth amongst planning commission?
Yeah, that's really, we don't have a special committee, and so we're all working independently and then bringing our work forward for all the other commissioners to look at. So we're not,
Okay.
we don't have a
Well, just
special
'cause It was
committee.
my understanding of the Brown Act is once a quorum of the body receives a document, it becomes a public document.
Yes.
It's supposed to be released immediately.
Yes.
Mr. Drobish, if I may, so all their communications come through me, and then I put it on the agenda. So all of
Okay.
the documents.
Individual dispersed back, okay.
Yes.
Right.
So they're listed,
Okay.
all these documents are listed on the agenda, but they do send their documents to me to distribute.
My
Because
question
we
then
we have
is,
not created a special committee like we had
when
before.
would the public be able to see the discussion work?
Right, that's what we're doing here.
Yeah,
So
and that
every-
gets to my
the
main
public and the
question
commissioners
of-
receive all the
of this,
documents.
12.2 stuff is I'm starting to have concerns with it growing into a larger discussion, into some action, when it's not really agendas, a properly agendized item with a description, a brief description. It seems more appropriate that a lot of this 12.2 stuff should be under your workshop.
That we're not doing that at this time, so
I know, but
we're
just
all taking
as a-
on bits and pieces to move
Thank you.
this
I have-
project forward.
I have the floor.
Now, Mr. Drobish, you might remember back that City Council directed us to do this work, so that's what we're operating under. There was a memo from the City Council, so that's what this work
know
is
that.
related to.
Yeah, I'm just listening to the discussion. It is pushing up against that line of the Brown Act, where it really is becoming more action. So you just need to
Oh,
be a
well, when
little
we
concerned
get to the
about
point of
that.
taking action, then we will agendize it appropriately. We're just discussing among ourselves based on the research that we've conducted.
Well, I mean, you've already made determinations within this 12.2 framework that the SOI standards meant X, Y, and Z. You've determined that you can create a ranking system within the historic districts of
No?
importance. It uses the word determined in the document under 12.2.2. That's an action. So that's where I'm saying you need to be a little more careful that this is just a discussion and not action, unless it's going to become an actual agendized item. And I don't know if this is the appropriate thing, but just a funny note that the development guide discourages simulated wood. And I think hardy siding with its wood grain as cement siding would fall under that category. So it's something you probably need to bring up for a discussion when you get to the fire materials that fight fire, that might be a notable allowable within that. So you might need to change the development guide a spot.
Thank you for your comments. All right. Any further discussion on 12.2.1? Okay.
I guess I'd
Oh,
add, following up to the comments from the public, is that the mandate that we were given describing our authority was in a city council resolution that, among other things, says to act in an advisory capacity to the city council in all matters pertaining to historical resources. It does that throughout the entirety of that document that's 10 years old. The idea of not having public workshops is because the votes don't appear to be there. I was one of 3 people who did the last time, but those votes aren't present now, so it's one person, so you're not going to get a second in order to pursue a public workshop. But there's been no overt decision.
Based on my understanding from reviewing the records, it was recommended that we move the public workshops into the meetings themselves as to not be a separate effort. And that was something that was generally agreed upon, if you would like
So,
to follow up on planning.
All right, I
then.
appreciate the concern about the workshops and the Brown Act, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. If you would like to revisit that, then perhaps something could be submitted and agendized, but it's really not productive. We've been down this road before talking about whether or not to have workshops. I would like to keep our discussion focused on things that we've been provided in our packet that have been put out for public review. So that would be the work plan, the review of other jurisdictions, and the existing historic review documents. So I think we've covered all of that, and I'm going to move on to 12.2.2, which is the US 50 Trip to Green Congestion Management and Resiliency Strategy Project, which is a really long project name. So provided in your packet is a draft that I did based on our discussions at our last meeting on this topic. We are technically past the, I think, of the 1 month deadline, but I would like to go ahead and send this on to the consulting firm. Ms. Kachauer requested that we comment on potential impacts to historic properties. So I summarized what we discussed and the information that we received from the public. At this time, if any of you have any additions or changes to this, I did keep it focused on impacts to historic properties. We didn't identify anything at that time, in part because the maps were very vague. The project is still being developed, and so I hope you've all had a chance to read this. I did request that we get another chance to comment, and comment maybe more than once as the project is developed. So I'd like to know if the rest of you have any comments or changes to this, and if you would care to give it your approval for submittal to the consulting firm GPA.
Yeah, I thought that your letter touched on the topic that I wasn't at the meeting, but I did watch it. And I thought that your letter touched on the topic that they specifically requested information about. I do think that the emails that we were provided with today raise additional concerns that I would also have around this project, but that seem to be relevant not to the request from last meeting, but to the overall project. So, for example, I think, the side streets being impacted and things like that is a factual thing that needs to be considered. I'll say I live on Pacific Street, and Apple Hill traffic has been pretty gnarly recently, so I can see why that concern is present and valid. But I did, as far as your letter, I thought your letter accurately addressed the emotions around the topic that we were specifically asked to respond about, and I do look forward to the opportunity to discuss other topics either here or in other venues so that all concerns can be heard.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your support and mentioning these other emails that we received tonight. Valid points from these people. They have raised concerns. One's in a lot of detail, but again, the request for information was impact to historic properties, and we weren't able to identify any impact based on the information. I tried to make that clear that we feel like we need more information in order to make a determination on that. So I did want to acknowledge the it's just two emails that we've got copies for. Good information in both of them, but I agree with you, Amy. I am not comfortable attaching them, and hopefully these people will reach out to GPA themselves as part of the public comment process.
Just to express for you, Carol and Dave, I felt very uncomfortable at our last meeting when we addressed this subject because the information to me seemed very vague. For example, our engineer gave one date for responding. I think Mike Drobish said in a conversation he got another date. And then I called Jenna and got a different information. Her answer was the comments needed to be submitted by the 17th of October. And now I'm not clear as to what additional comments can be made. Are they to be solely by the commission, or can it be any interested party? And if so, what steps does an interested party take? How do you go about asking for the 106 designation to be recognized in that way? I felt very uncomfortable when it came to the discussion of deadlines. I can tell you that very few things in life scare me more than deadlines. And it was much too vague for my needs. So if you could, please fill in exactly what has to be done for any interested party to get a 106 designation. Who do they write to? When is it due? And when would an interested party, going beyond just this body, be able to submit comments in response to Jenna's request? Does that help clear up what I'm seeking?
I understand what you're requesting, and this was not a development services project. This is a project being taken on by engineering, but I will certainly keep that in mind as things come forward.
Do we have any answers for us?
I have not spoken with Jenna. I believe that Mr. Drobish did and had highlighted at our last meeting on how the public could get involved, but unfortunately, I don't have any answers to that question.
Okay. Mr. Drobish, do you have a comment on the draft letter that we were going to submit? I did include your name because you provided us with some comments. So did you have any suggestions, edits for the letter?
Yeah, just to clarify for the public, the City of Placerville Engineering Department is the lead for the city on this project. So, public members came to this body in the past and voiced concerns, and, they were told, also, you can go to city council, express your concerns there, and then you have this opportunity and the whole NEPA-CEQA process for this project along the way. I believe the city does now have a dedicated Trip to Green page within their system. So that's nice. It'll probably get fleshed out as we go along. I rewatched the video of this item at the last Planning Commission meeting, and the person from the public was talking about roundabouts, I couldn't figure out if he was being tongue-in-cheek because he came up and said, "I will not discuss roundabouts." And so I couldn't figure out if he was being serious or not. But in your letter, it says that they are suggested as part of the item. And I couldn't tell from watching the video if he was serious or not. But I started thinking about that. There is a distinct possibility that 3 roundabouts out there would work if there was stoplights on 50 on the east and west side that fed a certain number of vehicles into the system. Because if there was 3 roundabouts with no stoplights at peak times, Highway 50, you will dominate the roundabout, and cross traffic will be a little too timid to jump into the pool. So it's probably not appropriate because it's not part of the design, but I think it is worth putting in a note in there about that, and because that would be a project alternative to the barricades, and so it's worth throwing that into the ring as a discussion as a project alternative. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess-
Appreciate your comments.
One thing I'd add is there are all kinds of alternatives that I have not seen discussed. For example, from Virginia to the District of Columbia, there is a cement barricade which is moved every day in the morning and in the afternoon. A device that looks like a small bus straddles it, moves it over in the morning, moves it back in the afternoon. And then I understand it's done in Hawaii and a number of the islands there. It's also done in,
I'm sure we've all had personal experience with different designs, but
So-
the matter before us right now, and all of that will come out as the CEQA document is developed, so I think that these are great comments, but we're not there yet. And I don't think it's appropriate to include that in our memo to the GPA consulting at this time, but, these are great alternative ideas, roundabouts, barricades, and so on, when they start talking about alternatives in the CEQA document and when they get down to the design. And so I think that's a more appropriate place to carry on that discussion. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for your approval to have staff print this on city letterhead and send it to Ms. Katschauer. Even though we're past the stated date, I think that we're so early in the process that she would welcome our letter and hopefully take our concerns seriously. And then in subsequent chances to comment as they go on with their design, maybe give us a little bit longer window so that she understands our process. We have to get her letter, we have to talk about it, and so on, and get approval. Anyway, I'd entertain a motion for your approval.
And I make just two small suggested edits to it that I think would include the concerns, but not change any of the substance of your thing. Where we talk about roundabouts, since it specifically talks about roundabouts, we could say, or other such measures, or something to include that. Does that not?
Well, no one said that. I'm, perhaps that was more detailed, but that it was something, a specific thing that was stated. Other people were talking about generally impacts to businesses, and so I thought that just generally saying that, that was their concern, and those people will be, submitting their comments to the consultant. So nobody said anything more specific than.
Fine by me. Otherwise, I think that the letter, like I said, it reflects the initial concerns that we have to be talked about. And in that note, I think that the decorative design of the project elements was really beneficial for Catherine to bring up when she discussed incorporating our look into especially if there's a significant number of signs added, that it be relevant to our community. So I appreciated that inclusion.
Yes, I thought that was really important because we don't really know how many there were. So we have a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt the letter to send to Ms. Karcher.
Second.
And I have a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Smith?
I'm ready for a vote.
Okay, no other comments. All right. Let's call the vote. Ms. Watkins-Howie.
Commissioner Stratton,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Lepper,
Aye.
Chair Keeney.
Aye. So that's 4-0. I don't know if this is subject to 10-day appeal. This is new business, a new thing for me. It's just our work. It needs to be sent out.
That's correct. It's just a letter to a consultant, so it's not an approval.
Okay.
So it's not subject to appeal.
All right.
And before you move on to item 13, I would recommend that you adjourn the meeting to our November 18th meeting so that we can observe Election Day and allow our residents and commissioners.
I was just getting to that.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that there was no problem with staff processing the rest of this letter. But thank you for reminding me. So we will not have a meeting on the 4th because that's Election Day. Everyone get out and exercise your franchise. Our next meeting will be on the 18th of November. And we do have projects. We do have things to consider.
I believe that I'll be able to bring the bylaws back. Did some research today, so I'm anticipating bringing those back, and we're working on some applications, so hopefully there might be some that are ready to bring forward. But if not, we'll have some educational information for you.
Fantastic. Look forward to that. All right. Anything else from commissioners? All right. Thank you all very much. It's 6:59. We stand adjourned until the 18th of November. Have a good evening.